I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about Colby Chaos Covington is the most overhyped welterweight fighter, claims a welterweight division rival of Colby Covington. Colby Covington is undoubtedly, hold on, let's get some of these pop-ups off this page. Colby Covington is undoubtedly one of the more polarizing fighters in the UFC, and one welterweight fighter didn't mince any words when describing Colby Covington. Let's see. While speaking to CBS Sports, welterweight contender Belal Muhammad was asked who he believed was the most overhyped welterweight fighter in the UFC. Without hesitation, Belal Muhammad mentioned that he believed Colby Chaos Covington is the most overhyped. Belal Muhammad said, overhyped welterweight Colby Covington. It's no surprise that Belal, remember the name, Muhammad would name the former interim welterweight champion as the most overhyped fighter in the division, especially considering that Belal was passed up for a title shot in favor of Colby Chaos Covington. The number 4 ranked welterweight Belal Muhammad also voiced his displeasure towards the UFC matchmaking after Colby Chaos Covington was named the next title challenger despite being out of action for over a year, saying, "Nobody's going to hand you anything, and I knew right when I got to the UFC that anything I wanted, I was going to have to claw my way to grab it, to get it." And knowing even with this fight here versus Gilbert Burns, it's still me clawing and grabbing to get it. It's gonna make it that much sweeter, that much better to have that gold wrapped around my waist. Regardless of what transpires in the upcoming fights, Muhammad versus Colby Covington could be something that the UFC eventually books in the future. Well, okay, yeah, I mean, Belal Muhammad, he does a lot on Twitter, right? He definitely does a lot on Twitter. Now, Colby Chaos Covington, is he the most overhyped fighter in the welterweight division? I can't really say so. It would be nice to see Colby Chaos Covington fight some of these current ranked top 10 welterweights. I'm an MMA casual, but I would like to see Colby Chaos Covington versus Shakar Rakhmonov versus Hamzat Chimaev versus, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns versus Wonderboy Thompson versus Michelle Pereira versus Sean Brady. I mean, when you think about it, if you look at the top 15, I don't know how many people Colby Chaos Covington has defeated. I know Jorge Masvidal is in the top 15, but besides that, there's not too many names on the top 15 list that Colby Chaos Covington has defeated. So I could understand where Belal Muhammad is coming from, where he says he feels Colby Chaos Covington, who's currently the number 1 ranked welterweight, is, a little bit overhyped. Now, do I agree with it? No, I don't think Colby Chaos Covington is the most overhyped welterweight fight. I don't really have a name as far as that. Like I said, I'm MMA casual, so I have no idea. It's 12:45 in the morning, so I definitely don't have any idea as far as who's the most quote-unquote overhyped fighter. It's just I would like to see Colby Chaos Covington fight some of these top 10, top 15 welterweight fighters, and we could see who's quote-unquote overhyped. And Belal Muhammad, like I said, he does a lot. He's fighting Gilbert Burns next. It's a 5-round fight. I heard Belal Muhammad wanted to make the fight a middleweight fight or something like that. So if I'm Belal Muhammad, I would be not really worried about Colby Chaos Covington being overhyped at all, because the challenge in front of you is Gilbert Burns, and that is a very, 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 very tough fight for Belal Muhammad. And even if Colby Chaos Covington is open, it's like I always say this thing, like when people get mad at Conor McGregor, it's like, that's cool, he gets all the attention, yada, 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 but that should be better for you, because if you believe Colby Chaos Covington is overhyped right? And Colby Chaos Covington defeats Leon Edwards. Well, now you get to go and fight the guy who you think is the most overhyped fighter, right? So you could prove it. So saying that he's the most overhyped fighter when you're not scheduled to fight him just doesn't, it just doesn't really do much for me. Especially when you have a challenge like Gilbert Burns for 5 rounds in front of you. I think that should be 100% of your concern. Colby Chaos Covington is not the champion. If you want to put 5% into anyone else, you would say, talk about maybe Leon Edwards being, overhyped, and he's not as great as he is. But talking about Colby Chaos Covington, who is the #1 contender, who doesn't have the belt, who is not even scheduled for a title fight. Like, they don't even have a scheduled title fight right now. I would say right now is just, not the time for Belal Muhammad to go off on tangents and be throwing, little shots at other welterweights in the welterweight division, and just focus 100%, not even 90, 100% on Gilbert Burns, because if Belal Muhammad beats Gilbert Burns, he will most likely be the #1 contender for the welterweight title, and we'll figure out what happens after that. So if Colby Chaos Covington is overhyped or isn't overhyped, to me, for Belal Muhammad, it just doesn't matter. Right now it should just be all about just worrying about, Gilbert Burns, and that should be your only concern at the moment. If it's, the analogy I would use is kind of being in like the NBA. If you're in the Western Conference right now and you think someone on the Eastern Conference is overhyped, and you're just throwing random shots at them, and yet you have a team you got to play for 7 games, right, that can knock you out of playoffs, and you're already talking about a team across the pond in that metaphor. So I get it. I know Belal Muhammad likes to take shots. I know he does the most on Twitter. I know it's cute to, take another shot at Colby Chaos Covington. But for the most part, I think he should just be focused 100% on Gilbert Burns and not waste any time talking about Colby Chaos Covington being overhyped. And another reason why you don't want to do that is because what happens is that you do an interview like this, and let's say you lose to Gilbert Burns. The first thing Colby Chaos Covington is going to say, and what everybody else is going to say, is who's overhyped now, right? That's going to be the answer, right? Like, who's the overhyped one now? Maybe you were the most overhyped welterweight, right? Maybe you're the most overhyped welterweight, is what Colby Chaos Covington and other welterweights would say. So I get it. Belal Muhammad likes to get, the Twitter fingers and the interviews, and, not really for me, but I totally disagree with him that Colby Chaos Covington is the most overhyped welterweight in the UFC welterweight division. But let me know your opinion of this story. I'm Jason, UFC Today. We had a story about Colby Chaos Covington is the most overhyped welterweight fighter in the UFC welterweight division, according to the #4 ranked welterweight Belal, remember the name, Muhammad. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.